Yeah, it's always an issue. So good morning, everybody. It's March 19th, and I have a special guest on here I'm super excited about interviewing, and that's Jennifer. And Jennifer has been part of the test group for 4-week gut protocol. I never went downstairs and got those. That's okay. No biggie. Anyway, we were just talking about something that oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you guys to learn about this piece. Like, this mind blowing. I know it's probably not for everybody, but it is for me. But let's first introduce Jennifer. Can you tell us, well, first of all, I want to say thank you, but can you tell us everything about you? Like, tell me where you are, who you are, where do you live? Like, do you have children? Who are you living with? I mean, tell me your life story.
Okay, awesome. I'm Jen Hines. I turned 48 2 weeks ago. So I am married with 2 kids who are in middle school. I work full-time as a physical therapist. I'm also a 2-time lead coach with Beachbody. I've been coaching for 7 years. So running a good business and working full-time is very challenging with middle school kids. So I am busy. So I'm really good at battling that excuse of I'm too busy to do this, because I'm like, oh, okay, let's talk about how we can fit this into your schedule. I also have 3 dogs. 2 are mine. We have 2 golden retrievers, and we adopted my mother-in-law's mini golden doodle. So if it gets barky, I apologize.
So you said 3 dogs? Is that what you said?
3 dogs, yeah. Yeah, so it gets loud sometimes. But when my mother-in-law had a stroke, we adopted her dog because she couldn't take care of her anymore. And she fits right in, but she's a yapper. So I've been coaching for 7 years. I live in Charleston, South Carolina, originally from Maryland, but we've been in Charleston for 16 or 17 years, been married to my husband for just as long. My coach is my sister-in-law, Moira Casaba. If you guys are coaching, you probably know who she is. So she is my coach, and I told her no forever when I first got started because I was too busy. I told her no. Like, I was like the first person she asked to coach and said no. So you guys that understand that know that I'm kicking myself in the hiney right now. But I finally said yes when I needed it for my journey, because I was just at such a low point, but really doing a good job of faking it to everybody else back then. So did that answer all your questions, Ashley?
Oh my gosh, Jennifer, not only did you answer my question, but now I'm like, well, how do I get her to stay on here for like an hour and a half versus not an hour? We're going to have to talk another time too.
Absolutely. I'd love to. I'm really passionate about this because coaching's changed my life. This program's changed my life. Beachbody's changed my life in so many different ways. So yeah.
That is so awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I'll pay you. You can come back. We'll pay you. Actually, I'll give you tech lessons, and then
there we go.
We'll swap.
Perfect.
Yeah,
we'll exchange. Yes.
So, okay, but what we're here to talk about, even though I want to go off on 8 million tangents, is the fact that Jennifer was part of the 4-week gut protocol test group, and I have so many questions for you. But the first one is, I want you to tell me what you were expecting. I mean, you've been in here, you said you've been a coach for 7 years. You probably already had some sort of like transformation with our products, our programs. So I would like to know, how were you feeling about being in here and finding out that it was like a nutrition, like, you know what I mean, that the nutrition piece was a huge piece of it. And how did you think that you were even going to get, like, what kind of results were you thinking might happen?
Okay. And this is where I'm an emotional coach too. So if I start getting teary-eyed, part of my story, right? So like I shared with you guys, I am 48. When I turned 45, things started changing in my belly, right? In my gut. As we age, just, your body starts changing. And as a health and wellness coach, I was no longer getting myself results. Like, I couldn't figure it out. I would have by 6 p.m., like every night, I would have a belly bloat that looked like I was pregnant. Uncomfortable, would have to change out of my work pants or jeans into like more forgiving leggings. I was having low energy, relying on caffeine. I'm not a sweet carb like craver. I'm a salty carb craver. So like, I wanted all the potato chips and popcorn and potatoes and those sorts of things. And I just wasn't feeling good in my skin. I would lose 2 pounds, gain 4 pounds, lose 3 pounds, gain 4 pounds. And it was just like this vicious cycle, even eating on plan, right? Even following our nutrition plans. And I was like going 100% in my workouts, and then my joints were achy, and I was like, well, then I couldn't give 100%. So I was in this vicious cycle as a coach, getting other people results, but couldn't get myself results, right?
You're telling my story. You're like, telling my story. Right? So okay, go ahead, keep going.
And so then you almost start feeling like a fraud because you can't get yourself results, right? And it just was, it was heartbreaking. And I have some amazing coach friends who are like nutrition wizards. And I reached out to them and I said, help me. I would be crying on the phone, like, help me. What do I do? I'm feeling so bad in my body. But here I am on social media, like self-love and body images, just like sharing all of that stuff because I truly believe that. But when you don't feel good in your skin, you really feel like you're a fraud. Or what's the other word? I can't think of it right now because I haven't had my coffee yet. But so I reached out to my friends who are nutrition wizards and they would give me ideas. And it's just like people that may not have joined us where they're trying to find an answer and they're grabbing things from all over the internet and all these different influencers, but it's not a plan, right? So when you don't have a plan, you're not going to get results. So I was trying what they said and they had all these good intentions and all these great ideas, but I was trying everything to the point where I felt so restricted. Then I started getting into that restricted mindset. So then I just did
sorry, I'm going to cut you off. Amanda said imposter syndrome.
Yes, Amanda, thank you so much. That's exactly what it is. So then I started feeling restricted. And I was like, that's not why I got into this. So then I was like, okay, this is just my journey. I'm just going to share it until I find an answer. And I wasn't a success starter. I was an elite coach who had never been in a test group. And, my corporate sponsor had reached out in our mastermind thread to say, who's never been in a test group? Let me know. And I said, Wendy, I've never been in one. And that was like months ago. So January, she reached out to me. And I was already feeling burned out for that end of the year elite push. And I was just like really just not feeling in a good spot for my business. And she sent me a text and she's like, Jen, would you be interested in being in a gut health protocol test group? And Ashley, I kid you not, I felt this like wave of like, this is it. This is my answer. And I started sobbing and I was Erin Hopkins is a very good friend of mine because she's here in Charleston and she was in the first test group. And I texted her, I was like, you're not going to believe this. And she's like, what? And I was like, I just got invited to be in the second round of the test group. And she's like, Jen, this is going to be everything for you. And her and I started sobbing back and forth. And I was like, it gave me hope. It gave me hope, guys, because I know Autumn and I know that she was going to provide a stepwise approach to help me figure it out. And for the first time in like 3 years, this is where I get emotional, I had hope that I would get myself results and feel good in my body. Because I was not feeling good. I was getting everybody else results, but not myself. And I just did not feel good. And I will tell you that this program has transformed that. I'm now, the picture that Ashley's going to show was my 4-week results.
I'll bring it up now.
Okay. I just want to share a little bit about this picture, guys. So it's in a different location because that picture on the right is where I finished my journey taking care of my dad who had just gotten out of the hospital with COVID. And I had just flown in the day before from being in Idaho with my family on a ski trip when we found out that he was admitted to the hospital with COVID. So this program, that week when I was with my parents, helping them get back on their feet after being in the hospital, normal Jen would have been having wine every night and popcorn and potato chips to emotional eat. But this program had me feeling so good in my skin and realizing how much stress impacts your gut that I stuck with it and I didn't get results that week, but these results were from the previous like 4 weeks. Like that week, I did not get results because the stress in your body also makes you hold on to weight, which is something that Autumn talks about in the program. Since this picture, I am an additional 3 pounds down, so a total of 11, as I'm continuing to follow this because this nutrition program can be a lifestyle. It is an elimination type diet, not diet, but elimination type nutrition program to help you figure out what could be causing issues like you see on the left. And that's actually a morning picture. So that bloating's not even as bad as it would get. But this nutrition program has really given me the answers to what was causing my body. And now I have the knowledge that if I want to eat that way, I can, but I know that I'm going to bloat for a couple of days and then I can get back on track. So it's not that I have to give up all these things that I love. It's that now I know what causes my bloating and what I can do to feel better. And I can make that choice. And knowledge is power. And that's what this program has given me, is that power, the joy, and the hope and results back in my own journey.
You are literally answering like all of my questions in your
Sorry.
it's great. It's great. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So I missed one thing though. Tell me the timeline when you said you found out that, was it your father or your father-in-law who was in the hospital?
My dad.
Your dad. What was it during the 4 weeks?
Yes. So the first 3 weeks of the test group life was great, right? And just like life and God, they kind of test you sometimes. You're like, okay, are you really doing this? And then week 4, that weekend, I woke up and my daughter had a fever. So she was diagnosed with strep for the 3rd time in 3 months. after just recovering from COVID for the second time in 6 months. So she's 12, so her poor body had been through the ringer, but we got her on antibiotics and making a plan with the doctor to get her seen by an ENT if she had another flare up. And then we were prepping to go to Idaho to ski. So this is my 4th week. I'm finishing up the test group. I was going to eat on plan in Idaho. I, had, my Instacart grocery list ready for the shop in Idaho that we picked up after the airport. But as we stepped on the plane to go to Idaho, my sister called and said Dad was just taken by ambulance to the hospital for COVID. His oxygen, for those of you in healthcare understand this, his oxygen level was 74. He has lupus, so he's immunocompromised. And I said, what should I do? My sister is a infectious disease critical care pharmacist, so she's the one that should have been there during this time. And she's like, go, it's just a flight back if we need you to come back. So she was there while he was in the hospital. But immediately, guys, when I got that phone call, my gut started cramping. I started getting bloated. I felt that pain. And you just immediately know that the relationship that the mind and gut and stress have on each other. So my sister, she's like, just go enjoy yourself. We talked every day. I talked to my dad in the hospital, and he came home that Sunday. I flew home Sunday from Idaho, got my family settled, and Monday morning, packed my work bag, packed my food, did a grocery shop order on the way and took them some healthy stuff so I could stay on track and I could make sure they were eating healthy, and spent that end of that last week getting my results with the test group taking care of my dad, who came out of the hospital with COVID. So
how's he doing now?
He went home with, again, healthcare guys, if you understand, 8 liters of oxygen. He was sent home with 8 liters of oxygen. He's down to 2. So he's doing much better. He's walking with physical therapy outside. So he's definitely progressing. His recovery's taking a little bit longer just because he is immunocompromised with lupus. But and he's 2 hours away, which is close enough to get there, but not close enough to help every day. So my sister and I are navigating that, too, because it's challenging as your parents start to age.
One of my questions was, did you have any events or parties during your...
Yes, I did. Super Bowl was that weekend too. And Moira hosted like this Mac Daddy party for Super Bowl and had this brick oven pizza place come. But they have the best gluten-free pizza. And I just asked them to make me a pizza without cheese, with like roasted vegetables and grilled chicken. So there's definitely
without cheese.
Yeah, because I don't know how much you want me to give away, Ashley, but when you do the program, you're eliminating some of the most inflammatory foods. And gluten,
one of the questions that people have is, what were your triggers? Like, I'm okay with that. Just share it. What? Because here's the thing, guys, keep this in mind. Everybody's different. So whatever Jennifer's triggers are does not mean it's going to be what your triggers are. And so that is part of the program, and that's part of the genius, is you have to do the program to figure out what are your trigger foods. So sure. What were some of the things that you found about yourself?
And it's interesting because it's not gluten was not it, but again, I'm not adding in a ton of gluten, right? I had like a piece of Dave's Killer Bread. That was my reintroduction, so it's a pretty clean, product to have to begin with, and had no symptoms. But it's interesting, and I'll share this because it's funny. On the way back from Idaho, my husband got me a latte at the airport, and the next day I was feeling a little weird after I added in the bread too, and he's like, "Yeah, the latte, I got you milk," and I was like, dang it. So I added the gluten and milk in on the same 24 hours. Yeah. So then I didn't know what had caused the trigger, right? Plus traveling, plus the stress of my dad. So those 4 things, I was like, okay, 3 more days back on plan. And then I'm going to reintroduce gluten. And gluten, when I added bread in, that bread, again, it wasn't like white bread or white pasta or anything like that. It was a cleaner product. I didn't have any issues. The next thing I added in was dairy. And again, it was a nice piece of cheddar cheese, 1 serving, no issues. What I'm finding is that if I have like a pizza with gluten and cheese and possibly oil that's not the best, it's that combination of too much of that that causes my bloating. But because my gut is healing, like the next day, the bloating's gone. You know what I mean? But you can see if you keep eating that way, it can impact your belly.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm not going to tell you can't enjoy pizza with cheese, because you can, but you might have a few issues, and then the next day, or it might take you a couple more days to get the bloating or your symptoms down. And that's the thing, is that everybody has so many different symptoms. Michelle, who's one of our teammates, you probably have seen her eye picture. She's the PA that's going to be, she's actually going to be, well, you guys will hear her story on Monday. But you can see her eyes, and you can see how her eyes have changed and skin changes. And part of Erin's story is the eczema in her ears. So everybody's symptoms were a little bit different. But corn is actually one of my triggers, which was shocking because popcorn is like my favorite snack. And I added that back in a couple of weeks ago and I make the popcorn on the stove with a little bit of avocado oil, which is, one of the oils we're allowed. And within an hour, guys, I was pregnant back out to my belly. It was part of like one of my, you can see it. I have a highlight on my Instagram about my journey, and you can see like the bloating that happened within an hour. And again, that's not to say I'm not going to ever have popcorn because I love it to death. But now I know that if I do, I might be uncomfortable for a couple hours.
You are getting so many comments, by the way. People are just like, can you share this? Can you share that? So
I'm happy to talk as long as you'll have me. But I know we're getting close to our time. And sugar, you guys, the added sugar that is in so many of our foods is bananas. So I know that if I start adding too much sugar in, then I start to get the fatigue and the achy joints and some of those other symptoms that I was having too, because my joints would ache. I would have low energy. And you guys, my menstrual cycle, horrendous, right? The past 2 that I've had being on this program, minimal cramping. So it's
you're the second person who told us this. Somebody else told us this also, and she was like, I haven't had any PMS symptoms. Like I didn't have the ginormous mood swing, like right.
Yeah.
She didn't.
And pain. And I lost weight on my menstrual cycle. I was like, what in the world? That's amazing. Because that's never happened. Usually I gain 3 or 4 pounds, Yeah. So that's another thing for me. I have not added back in artificial sweeteners because I just don't see the point in doing that. I wasn't eating a lot of them to begin with, but as you you have the option to do this as a lifestyle. You have an option to add things back in to see how you respond. And then of course, like things like artificial sweeteners or highly processed soy things, you don't have to add them back in if you don't want because they're highly processed, So for me, it's a lifestyle that I'm going to continue to eat because it really focuses on as many plants as you can eat, which is really fun to see how many plants in a week you can eat. And that's not just vegetables and fruits, that's your seeds, your legumes, your potatoes, all of those things too, which is fun.
What would you say to somebody who's super nervous to do this because they're picky eaters? I have a couple customers who bought the program and they are already like, pretty set in their ways when it comes to food, and they watch the videos and they're, what do I do now?
Right.
So what would you say to them?
Yeah, and I would say just be open to that because you can still have like the foods that you were having before if they're not highly processed and within the confines of the program, but there's so many options. I feel like the food lists they're not that much different than Portion Fix if they've done Portion Fix. Mm-hmm. But also I want you to think about, and this is actually probably one of the things that we do as coaches, I want you to think about why you want to do this program. How do you want to feel? And is maybe trying some new foods to feel better or trying more variety of foods to feel better because there's so many different options that you can choose. Isn't that worth feeling better and getting rid of your symptoms? So thinking about your why and how you want to feel versus focusing on what you're not going to be eating and maybe focusing on what you're adding that might make you feel good. And just focusing on the positive side, not feeling restricted, but what you can add, which is feeling good and getting rid of your symptoms and those sorts of things.
I also find that, and I've talked to people about this because I, long time ago, was a picky eater. And I can say that the more you are out there with your food options, the more that you're acceptable of trying different things, the more fun you have in life. Honestly, like you can visit more people, you can be more enjoyable when you're visiting different places. And if you can start like getting more variety in your diet, then you'll have more fun when you travel. You'll have more fun when you're with friends and family because you're not gonna be the person. I'll never try that. Like you,
right?
And that takes time and it takes work. It really does. But by doing this, by like embracing it and being, instead of being like, oh, I'm scared, but more of like, I'm excited to start loving more varieties of food. Then you're going to have more fun in life. Seriously, Absolutely. You'll have more fun in life.
And you guys, your taste buds are going to change. My friend, Katie Moore, I don't know if you guys follow her on Instagram, but she's amazing. And she makes all these like healthier sweet treats. She says, so what do you guys do for like desserts? And I was like, well, after the first week, nobody craves them because your taste buds start to change as you start reducing your sugar levels. Like you crave sugar because you eat it all the time. And like when I first started, the same thing. Like I don't like oatmeal. I'm like oatmeal. There couldn't be anything more boring than oatmeal for breakfast. but then your body starts to crave it because it does start to taste good when you add like cinnamon. And I actually add my vegan Shakeology to my oatmeal so that I'm getting that plant-based protein and a carb in the morning, and it gives it a great flavor with some berries.
We have some great recipes for overnight oatmeals with Shakeology in them. Some
it's
people
amazing.
are asking, like, what kind of fermented foods did you eat? Because we're supposed to be implementing that, like adding that. So what
so they encourage at least 3 days, like 3 servings a week of fermented foods. And I did sauerkraut. Again, in that highlight reel on my Instagram stories, you'll see like I did my food almost every day. So I did what I would call like a harvest bowl. I put a bunch of food, make it look pretty in a bowl, and top it with sauerkraut, avocado. But I would do sauerkraut. I did kombucha some days, low, no added sugar kombucha, because you guys, kombucha can have a lot of added sugar. My sister-in-law went to go buy some after watching my stories, and I was like, make sure you're watching added sugar. And she's like, the one I bought had 22 grams of added sugar.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's bananas. Synergy
soda,
Raw.
like you're drinking a soda instead of.
yeah. So the Synergy Raw ones typically have no added sugar. I also found some fermented pickles. So if you guys like pickles themselves, if they're pickles, are not fermented, but if they are like, I think it's called Bubby's brand has fermented pickles. So if you guys like pickles, those were great too. I'm not a big kimchi person because I don't like spice, but some people did kimchi. Some people did miso. But you can't heat the miso because when you heat fermented foods, it loses the benefits of the probiotics and prebiotics. So yeah, I did.
Sense. Like even the miso soup, when you're using different recipes for like Ultimate Reset, you add the miso afterwards. You cook the food and then you add the miso after.
Right.
It's warm, but it's not hot. Like you add it afterwards.
Yeah. So you're not cooking it, but you can warm it in the soup. Yep.
And I say the same thing about Shakeology when people are like trying to heat it up into mugs and stuff, which is fine, you can do, but it's also killing off some of the stuff that's in it. Right. So keep that in mind. People are some people are they're going through, I don't eat this, I don't eat that, I don't eat anything that touches the ocean. But here's the thing, and I say this to a lot of people, and I think Jennifer would agree. If you don't like something, find a different way to make it. Like go to a restaurant, find a different way to make it, try different recipes. But if you're constantly baking something and then you find more recipes of baking it, then stop doing the baking and find another way of making it. Grill it, pan fry it in light oil, like
air fryer.
Try a different way of making it, and you might find that you'll like it. But you can't find out if you'll like it a different way if you're not trying it in a different way.
And my husband and I would we started grilling a lot of vegetables, guys. Like if you grill a portobello mushroom, it tastes just like steak. I mean, it's just like amazing. So we would grill a bunch of different vegetables on the weekends, just because we're busy. We're a busy family, but we do a lot on Sundays so that we grill a ton of vegetables so that we have those vegetables for lunches and dinners throughout the week. So grilling is amazing. Air fryer is amazing. Roasted broccoli is amazing. Broccolini, we tried broccolini. It's like that on the grill is amazing. That air fried is amazing. So yeah.
It sounds awesome. Some people are asking, was it hard for you to find recipes in Fixate? Did they switch it yet? Did they start adding the logo to other Fixate recipes in?
I think there's some in there, and this was the hardest part for me, guys, was because I got this food list 2 days before I was supposed to start. So as an elite coach, 7 years in, even I struggled. So that was one of the things that we kept suggesting was a meal plan, and Autumn was very she just didn't want to do that. She wanted the coaches to be resourceful, which we have been in the roundtable. There's lots of meal plans that people have suggested. I
did want to say that, guys, we are lucky. The test group people were thrown into it and said, here, figure it out. But because of them, they started creating their own meal plans and sharing them. So those of us who are doing it, whoever coach you're doing it with, don't worry. We're all like working together to share the resources that people like Jennifer and everybody else gave us throughout their process. So we will have them for you. A lot of us are starting April 4th because it's after we come back from Punta Cana. So a lot of the leaders are waiting for April 4th. And by then we will have so much information for you because thanks to Jennifer and everybody else. I did want to ask you 2 more questions. Somebody asked about the sweeteners. Like, is that including stevia, like the all natural sweeteners that you should take out at first?
No, that's just artificial sweeteners. So I continue to I did reduce my stevia amount that I use in my coffee. And coffee you can have 3 times a week, guys. So start reducing your coffee now. Because that was really hard for me. But I was doing like 3 cups of coffee and 2 scoops of Energize like a day. So my, I was up here. So that was challenging for me. Because again, I had like 2 days to figure it all out. So as far as the recipes, Ashley, and then make sure I answer your other question. Autumn kept referring back to Fix8, and like if there was like a cheesy skillet steak thing, then just take the cheese off. Like there's definitely ways to make it work. Once you know what you need to remove, just look at the recipe and take those things out. Because Fix8 is amazing. What was the question that you just asked that I think, because I wanted to make sure I talked about the recipe.
You answered
okay.
Them. But we only have a minute left. So I really, I love all these questions, guys. And maybe if Jennifer has a minute, she can hop in there and maybe like go through some of them. You don't have to, but if you have an extra minute, you can. I don't even know if you're in the group or not. I should have checked.
I am in the group, yes.
That being said, what I really want you to do is kind of close this out and share, okay, I felt like this prior and I was thinking maybe this might help me here. And to be honest, if it's the same, that's great. If it accomplished all your goals, even wonderful. Tell us about that. And this is how I felt afterwards. I think you kind of already answered, how did I keep going? You decided I'm just going to keep going with and introduce foods here and there because I feel amazing. And you've obviously been getting results even afterwards, which is awesome. That's what I wanted to hear. But I want to know, like, how did this actually change your life? And since you are talking to some coaches too, how did this change your business as well? I want to hear both. So, and then lastly, I'm sorry, one more. I want you to talk someone off the ledge. Whether
not doing this or doing it, or
not doing it or doing it, whichever. Like if you think, listen, I'll be honest, if somebody's like, wow, I will not do A, B, C, then maybe this isn't for you. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But if you want A, B, C, D, then you should. So yes, can you do all that?
Okay. Yes, if I forget a step, then remind me, Ashley. So you guys, I shared how I was feeling going into this: low energy, overweight, not getting myself results, the bloating, all of those things. My main goal for this was to figure out what's causing the bloating. I also wanted to lose 10 pounds, right? That's where I wanted to get. I didn't get the 10 pounds in 4 weeks, but I got 8. But when you look at what was thrown in my life, I was really happy with 8 since then, since the test group. So I went into it with lots of hope. And I really felt like this was for me because it was like a divine intervention. I just felt it come over my body that this is going to be it for my journey. And then as far as the coaching aspect too, this is changing my business, guys, because this is now my niche, because this is my story, right? So this is what my social media is about now, is gut health, because that's my story. And there's so many women out there, especially as you start to get a little bit older and things are working as well, that this can help. And that is like this is my niche, and it's impacted my business. My SC points are higher than they've been all year so far because I have been sharing this before. And you have the opportunity to do that too, as you start your journey, to invite people to watch you. And as they watch you and see your results and see the changes happening in you, then the next round you do this, it's going to be very impactful for your business. How I feel afterwards now is I feel in control, right? I feel in control of my journey. I'm eating more food than I've ever eaten on any program before and continuing to lose weight. I feel like I love my food. I love what I'm eating. I have hope in my own journey. My anxiety is decreased. My weight is going down. My energy is so much higher than before. My periods are not painful anymore. And this program is not for you if you're not willing to try. If you're not feeling bad enough or feeling like your gut issues are impacting your life enough and you're not willing to make these changes, then maybe it's not a good time for you. Maybe you do it in a couple of months when the timing's right. But the timing's never going to be perfect. And that's the thing that I want to leave you guys with, is that the timing's never going to be perfect for you to get started feeling better, but you deserve to feel your best. And I feel like this program gives you the opportunity to do that.
I'm not crying.
I thought I was going to be the crier, Ashley.
You literally hit so many strings. It's unbelievable. Anyway, we are going to be doing, that's why I said I could talk to you for hours. Listen, when you need tech help, you just call me and I'll figure it out with you while I ask you like 8 million questions.
Absolutely. I'm happy to talk to you or anybody or hop on again another weekend. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I know that the comments are literally blowing up. So I really appreciate you. We are about to do a workout now. So everybody who's hanging on in the waiting room, I will accept you in just a second. And you can feel free to stay here if you want to work out with us. But thank you guys and everybody else. I appreciate it. I'm going to stop the recording.